Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the Lost Generation. It is a literary group of writers that existed in the Paris in 1920s. So let's have the discussion. So it is a literary group of American writers who were working in Paris after the First World War. After the First World War, when the soldiers they came back to the normal life, the American government reintroduced the rehabilitation programs and consumeristic cultures that were not liked by these set of writers. So they came to Paris, which was at the moment cultural capital of the world. So the term was coined by Gertrude Stein, and there is an interesting story behind this. Gertrude Stein famously said to Ernest Hemingway, "You are all a lost generation." And in his memoir, A Movable Feast, Hemingway writes that Gertrude Stein used the term from a French garage owner who used to fix Gertrude Stein's car. And Hemingway uses this as an epigraph in the novel The Sun Also Rises. First, Gertrude Stein used this term while talking to Ernest Hemingway, but Hemingway later on used this term as an epigraph to the novel The Sun Also Rises, which was published in 1926. If you don't know about epigraph, it is a opening statement, a kind of quote from somewhere that is used before the opening of a novel or a piece of writing. So now, why were they called the Lost Generation? They were disillusioned by the horrors and destructions of the World War One. So there was a the life before the World War and life after the World War. There was a complete shift. There was totally disconnect between between two sets of lives. So there was obviously disillusionment among the people especially among the people who fought in the war, representing their countries. So they felt their generation had been robbed of innocence and sense of purpose. When you see so much terror, so much destruction around you, obviously you lose the innocence and the purpose of life. Many people who came back to the normal life after the war, they could not get used to the normal life. They in their mind they were already in the battlefield, and many of the people were shell shocked. And being literary writers and artists, they were of course sensitive to the condition of these people, and they themselves felt that. And in fact, many writers in the Lost Generation were serving as ambulance corps or medical corps in the French, in France and other countries. So, and the traditional values and social norms made no sense after the World War One. Like I mentioned, there was a complete disconnect between the life before and after the World War One, and they searched and aspired to find new ways of living in the society and expressing their thoughts. So since the old values and old beliefs, they didn't make sense after the World War, so they were constantly searching for new ways of living and new ways of expressing themselves in their writings. And they often resorted to self-destructive traits like hard drinking, fast living in the face of disillusionment. So fast living is when you take extraordinary risks which you normally don't take, and this happens during this also happens when you are facing this midlife crisis. So now the representative writers of this group were Ernst Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, E. E. Cummings, Gertrude Stein, John Dos Passos, Archibald MacLeish, and Hart Crane. So, and the representative works of this group of writers were The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Enormous Room by E. Cummings, and The Big Money by John Dos Passos. Now let's discuss the themes in these works. So experimental and modernistic writing style. Obviously, one they were searching for new ways of expressing their thoughts. So, and by that time, modernism also had set in. So they were, of course, experimenting with their writing techniques, their art techniques. So, and these works show contrast and discontentment between the life before and after the World War One. So, the whole way of looking at life had changed after so much destruction and horror was seen by people who were fighting in the wars, and people who also by the people who were living in their normal lives. And there was spiritual and material corruption after the World War One. I mean, the representative works to look for these things is The Great Gatsby, where you we see the total, corruption of spiritual world. People are people are leading the lives of risk taking, consuming drugs, consuming liquor. And even in the novel The Great Gatsby, the our protagonist is he was charged for doing liquor business when it was disallowed by the government. And then there is use of symbolism to refer to barrenness of life. And again, the in the work The Great Gatsby, we see that there is a valley of ashes, and that is also used as a symbol to refer to the barrenness of life after the World War One. And then there is psychological complexities of the individuals life after the war, since they were returning to the society, and they could not adjust to the societal life after having fought in a war. Most of them were shell shocked. They were missing their friends who had lived in these dangerous conditions with them. Some of them were not properly looked after by their family members. Obviously, they could not adjust to the normal life. And then there is also criticism of consumeristic culture that emerged after the war. uh, you must have observed this, that after a period of war and horror, we see that people who are disillusioned, they engage in a lifestyle that is high risk, that has high risk factor, since they don't care about their lives. They don't have a sense of purpose. So they indulge in these kind of high risk activities, hard life, hard living. And then there is also criticism of consumeristic culture that emerged after the World War. And we see that in The Great Gatsby, where our protagonist, who indulges in these kinds of illegal businesses that involve buying and selling illegal liquor to people. And then also there is a death of American dream post-war, and that death is because of because of the corruption that existed in America and most of the countries after the war. I hope you like the discussion. Kindly like, share, and subscribe for more such videos.